ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Sports betting isn't a gut call. It's a market with prices that move. WagerBird shows you what to bet, when to bet it, and how the line is changing live. Every pick is time-stamped. Every result is tracked. Start betting like an analyst with WagerBird.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Midday Market Report, the odds couple, MLB Friday Night Lights with some matinee baseball at Wrigley Field. The Yankees are coming, facing Umunga. Warren versus Umunga. Cubs like minus 160. Holy cow. Last Friday of July. Tomorrow we turn the calendar to August 1st. Basically, in our lanes, August 1st, the bell goes off. It's football season, but me and Scotty will keep you in tow August and September in baseball. And, of course, in October throughout the playoffs and the World Series there. Headliner today, SKUBAL to the Dodgers, ? MLB trading deadline 4 days away. Read before we came online, expect wholesale barnyard sales in Detroit. As I sent Scotty a notification I got this morning. Mize scratched. He's on his way out, potentially, of course. Gleyber Torres, Kenley Jansen, and of course the big ticket SKUBAL. And I'll just give you my 2 cents on the SKUBAL deal. Listen, I have no problem if he goes to the Dodgers. God bless him. Because, they're trying to drop the mic and get the three-peat, something that I don't think has ever been done in baseball, maybe way, way back in the Yankees. Scotty can help me there, at least not in our era. But the point is, 2027, such a question mark, Owners want a floor and, a salary cap, and the players don't want none of that shit. And the funny thing is, both have been squirreling money now, knowing that 2027 is coming. It's worse than watching the squirrels gather up the acorns as the nor'easter is on the way. So a lot of question marks, of course, but we'll bring Scotty in, and then, of course, we'll break down today's action, of course. Shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Amber, Holly, Carol, Bucks, Alan, Matthew, Jacob, Drew. The list is endless. Download the app. Head on over to X. Join the WagerWire community at WagerWire Community. And, of course, while you're there, head on over to WagerWire.com/marketplace for any tickets you might be interested in purchasing. And WagerBird.com, Blaine Davis, CEO, will be back Wednesday, 10:05. A look at a platform second to none, the financial New York Stock Exchange, the hedge broker, the Bloomberg. It's an amazing platform in sports, in our lane. So if you're interested in purchasing a monthly membership, a newsletter that comes out once a day, or some gems, points, or birds, use the promo code WELCOME20 and get 20% off your first order. Any questions, comments, concerns, send an email to info@wagerbird.com. Tell Blaine JD from ECSI sent you. So without further ado, let's bring him in, Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, Scott?
I just keep refreshing my Twitter feed every 5 minutes or so just to see if anything's going on out there. No, just kidding. It is what it is. I'm looking forward to whatever happens. I said all along there weren't going to be any big deals, but maybe there are. Um, Everybody's reporting that there's going to be some big deals. Obviously, SKUBAL is going to be probably the biggest one in terms of one player. I don't know what they're going to get for him, but it is what it is, and we'll see. Like the Dodgers need any help, but they're going to get it. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. So whatever. We'll see how it all turns out, and so far we've had the ancillary stuff that I thought we probably would get, and probably get a lot of it, and to me, Joe Adell moves, that's sort of ancillary stuff. That's not a big name mover. Bryce Harper moves, that's a big deal. So anyway, my point being is that I think we'll see what happens, and it'll be fun. I did get your notifications and did some research and was like, Casey Mize, they're precautionarily taking him out. They don't want him to get hurt and then lose his value. And then he's going to pitch in Seattle if we don't trade him. So I thought, oh, shit, let me see if I can go get in on this impending deal. Well, it wasn't an impending deal. It's just, that's what they're doing. I guess what they did in the past, they did that when they traded the kid from the Cardinals, Flaherty. He did the same thing. Remember, he was a Dodger, and then they got him back. So I think that was kind of the same thing they did with him. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But you got to get ramped up on your bullpen game strategy when you're betting I guess over the next couple of days.
And I said I was a guest with Andrew every Friday, Wager Talk TV at McGinnis Picks, and I said to everyone watching and listening, make sure you list your pitches this week, and you should do it anytime it's possible, but especially this weekend. Hate to have you lay the lumber on a big name, and next thing you know, it's Scotty Webb and Jeff Dawson pitching, and there goes your under or whatever. Putting on business owner hat, GM hat, CEO hat. Listen, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, okay? With 2027, we know nothing. And the shocker would be business as usual, spring training, opening day at the end of March, and we got a full season of baseball April 1st. I would put that at plus 1,000 right now. But my point is, if I got a guy that's got a halfway through the year this year, and he's got one more year left on his contract, and I want to get out of the money. Let's say Scotty Webb's making, $20 million. I still owe him 8.9 this year, and I owe you 20 next year. No disrespect, Scotty. I think you're a good player. I think you could really help a team for a playoff push and maybe help them the following year. I'm looking at my roster and I'm seeing, hey, if I can save 20 here, 8 here, 7 here, not knowing what's going on, there should be more of that versus, hey, we're 3.5 games back out of the third wild card and there's only 8 teams we got to jump, Scotty.
I think that, baseball is interesting where all season, well, I shouldn't say all season, that's not right. At the end of the season, some of these owners will go and say, well, we made a profit or we made a loss, or it was, we made this amount, like they run it like a business. And then, like what you're talking about right now is running it like a business. And then they like to use that analogy at the end of the season and say, hey, we did this, but we were profitable. We stayed afloat. We were able to get TV money, blah, 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 all that stuff. So I think, what you're talking about a lot of times is fiscal responsibility. And some teams don't care because they don't need it. And that's the competitive balance that this disagreement between the union and the owners is going to be all about, competitive balance. because I think in when you're talking about like what's going on right this minute, we talk about this player goes over there, this player goes over there. We don't necessarily sit there and go, well, how much money was saved by one team by doing that? Theoretically, we go, well, how much money did the other team have to pay, or whatever? It was usually what happens. And I was listening to MLB radio, and they were talking about this exact subject, and they were talking about the Toronto Blue Jays, and most people don't realize that Toronto Blue Jays payroll is somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think it was like $70 million over the threshold. And one of the things they could be doing right now in this trade deadline is fixing that and getting that back to normal where they need to be, setting themselves up again for the following season to be doing whatever they need to be. And they could be doing lots of different things to be fiscally responsible. And, as fans, a lot of fans are out here going, be fiscally irresponsible and go for it, right? And then when they don't make it, and then when things don't happen right, people get hurt, stuff happens, it's poo. That team was terrible. Well, every year I go through that phase of, well, how good's this team? And if you remember when we talked back at the very beginning of this season, I didn't think Toronto was going to be there. I was more about, well, who's Addison Barger? You know what I mean? Like, who is the guy? He played 1 year last year, and he had a pretty good season. And, he was no highly touted guy. He was nothing. And then this year he's been hurt a lot, but he wasn't very good before he got hurt. And then I said, well, if your best player is, I don't know, close to 40 years old, and he had probably his best season in his last 7 or 8 or 9, he's not going to do that again. And here we have George Springer not doing those things. And then all of a sudden you have Alejandro Kirk get hurt. And then, you have Guerrero not hitting 40 home runs like everybody wants him to. And then all of a sudden, you got no pitching staff when you thought you had a pitching staff. That's what happens to these teams. And all the dreams and all the hopes and all the stuff blows up. So my opinion is that some of these guys are fiscally irresponsible, but they abide by the rules of the sport. They're not doing anything illegal. Like the Dodgers are not doing anything illegal. They're just really good at what they do. I mean, it's not set up for the sport to have the best team, have the best smart ownership group and general manager people, and then B or C have the best minor league system. It's not set up that way. So when they want something, they just go get it because it's just the way it is. So I don't know. We'll just call on like we'll just say it's the Kansas City Royals. Kansas City Royals are in nowhere near that shape. They can't go buy just whoever they want. They can't. They don't have the best farm system. They don't have the best people in position. So and they can't afford to pay all that stuff. So that's where the competitive balance and all the stuff comes in. And the players don't care. They want their money. Now the ownership is going, hey, Kansas City Royals can't compete with the Dodgers. And everybody in the world goes, that makes sense. We're not going to be able to do that under this system. Let's create a new system. Okay, well, let's just say, here's how much money you can spend. Everybody has to be within, that little bit. And that's a salary cap. You can't spend over it. And then all of a sudden, the players go, salary cap, what? We don't want that. We want unlimited income. And then we want all this other stuff to go with it. So that's what the fight's going to be all about. But you can probably see a little bit of it this in here. And I read something about what the owners are wanting right now. And it kind of surprised me a little bit. And then I started thinking about it. And it made sense. The owners want the Dodgers to get Terry SKUBAL.
1,000%.
They want it. They want it to happen because when they go sit at the bargaining table, open and shut case, here you go. The best player in the game just went over to the Dodgers. And this is why we have to have competitive balance because, nobody else can get him and blah, 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 and all this other stuff.
And let me add on to that because that was going to be my follow-up is what the Dodgers have been doing is not illegal. In other words, Scotty, I'm paying you $750 million, but we're going to backload it for the, once you're done your contract, you're going to get paid X for the next 15 to 20 years while you're out there in Aruba or Jamaica, sipping on pina coladas and eating fresh mango. So this is the final straw. That's why SKUBAL to the Dodgers is happening because they will then give him that extension. They will say, all right, we're going to give you 7 for $350. We're going to give you $50 million a year for the next 7 years. And he's going to take it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then you're going to get under the hood of that. And he's going to be paid, $32 million a year for the next 7 years. And then he's going to get 18 per for the next 15 years after that, Scotty.
Yeah, well, how they structure the contract is how they structure the contract, which I do. It's all going to happen, whichever way. I think the biggest issue is going to be is that all 29 owners will then go to the bargaining table and go, the Dodgers, they're not doing anything wrong, but this is the system you've created, and that makes it so that the Royals can't compete. That makes it so that whoever can't compete, and the Rays or whoever it is that don't have any money. That makes it so that the fans of these teams are never going to win anything ever, because they're they might have one flukish year where they're able to do whatever, but the way that the process actually works is not exactly 100% the way it should work. And theoretically, I think if, and I saw it, and they talked about it, the owners were going to go, hey, look, we make 50%, you make 50%. We're good with that. Salary cap, and we're all good. And then the players were like, well, what is it that you make? What's all included in that? They're just so afraid they're going to miss out on stuff. And I get it. 100% get it. But that's your millionaires fighting and against the billionaires. And look, you can be the little guy and try to be big and bold and have all your stuff. If it gets truly out there in the public that the owners want this for competitive balance purposes, to make all 29 owners theoretically about the same, make the sport pretty cool, and the players are out there because they want unlimited income, the public's not going to side with the players, and that's not a usual thing. Normally, everybody sides with the players because they hate the big guy, the ownership groups.
And you're right, it's the millionaires versus the billionaires, and every sport but baseball has a salary cap. Is there a possibility? There's a handful of teams, I think, in the 300s and the 230s, 240s. Can you make a salary cap starting in 2027, or if there's no season, obviously 2028, where you can't? Can you do it like the NBA, where if you spend over, let's just say the salary cap was 275, and if you spend over 275, there's apron number 1. Then if you spend over 325, there's apron number 2, and tax them on it, which the Dodgers wouldn't give a rat's ass about anyways. And I think the Mets is in that point. But the floor is what I'm asking. If all of a sudden you got teams that are spending 40 and 50 million, and they say, hey, we're going to create the floor at 119 million. Do they look at it and say, well, I don't have that 119 million. What do you want us to do? That's number one. Number two, if you're running it like a business, why does Bryce Harper have to know what the Nats are making? I own the business. I pay you. I don't. You don't need to know what I make. It's none of your damn business. If you're a manager or at Best Buy or wherever you are, and you're going up to the CEO and, hey, I want to know what you guys are making at the end of it. That's none of your damn business, Scotty.
Yeah, those are all valid. As of right now, that the luxury tax is there. There's different thresholds to the luxury tax. The luxury tax was designed to say, hey, Kansas City Royals, we know you can't compete, but the teams that are over the luxury tax, you're going to get some of the share of that money to help you. So to offset whatever burdens you have. Well, they don't do that. Most of the teams. I shouldn't say most of the teams. That's not very fair. I know some of the teams, anyway, take that money and say, put it in my pocket. That wasn't designed for the owner to take that money and put it in his pocket. That money was designed to help them be competitive in the situation. So, they're looking at that and going, well, profit loss statement, that's going to help me get to where I need to be. We didn't sell enough hot dogs or parking passes or whatever. So I think that's issue number one with some of these taxes that they put on the teams that spend more money. If you're a really rich guy and you buy a team and you want to just, I don't give a shit, go take all my money, and you want to do that, I think that you could theoretically go buy whatever you wanted to. It doesn't kind of work like that in baseball, just because baseball is a sport that some of these lower end teams can beat you and knock you out of the position that you thought you were going to be able to get to. I think the Mets owner's finding that out pretty quick. Like, his teams haven't been very good at all. So the second point, now I'm saying all that stuff, sort of forget what your second point was.
You looking under my hood, how much money I'm making?
Yeah. So when it comes to you're an associate of who's paying you, you have no. Yeah, hey, there's rocket sauce. You have no legal right to understand. Well, you can understand, but they don't have to disclose things to you. In the baseball world, that as opposed to a corporate world, they can terminate your contract just like that, and you don't get paid. In your corporate world, there's laws that protect you. There's not really a lot of that in Major League Baseball. I mean, you sign a contract, and they might just go and say, well, it's gone. Me too stopped in the butt boss around here somewhere too, Timmy. So, it's all these different things that make baseball wonderful, but we're getting into the things that make baseball difficult, and it's all perspective, and it's all trust, and it's and no trust. So I think the owners have proven to be untrustworthy to a degree, and I also think that the players have proven to be greedy little guys. I was going to say another word, but I didn't do it that way. But greedy little guys, and they want their lion's share of the wealth, and I don't blame them. You can get what you want, get what you need, but it'll never be like the NBA. It'll never be like some of these other places where there's a lot of money for an NBA team, and they don't have very many players, so to share the wealth in that system, where there are 15, 16 guys on a roster, those 15, 16 guys are going to get paid. And they're going to get paid a lot. Whereas, Major League Baseball players, people don't think $1 million is a lot of money anymore. Maybe it isn't. But at the same time, it's a lot of money to sit there and get to play however often you get to play and play a game and, and all the other stuff. that kind of goes along with it.
Baseball today, Paul Skeens Day at Cincinnati, Hunter Green. His name's been mentioned there. Short favorite for Pittsburgh right now at the circa minus 125. Good afternoon to Mr. Benson, Mr. Stevens. Junkin Peralta, Mets short favorite. Peralta's name's been mentioned. Washington at Atlanta. Again, Atlanta short favorites here. Elder versus Griffin. What else? We got Evaldi versus Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown and the Astros short favorites over Texas. What else? Yankees and Cubs. That'll be the first game on the docket. 2:20 start. Currently, right now, minus 160 a manga. You can get the Yankees plus 143, a flat 9 under minus 120. Phillies at Baltimore. Painter versus Young. Baltimore minus 110. You can get the Phillies minus 102 there. Here's a 3-game must-win for St. Louis. Leahy versus Cease. Cease has been amazing. Right now, Cease and Toronto minus 184. Arizona at Cleveland. Pratt versus Beebe. Beebe minus 144 there. There's your Milwaukee at the Angels. Drohan versus R. Johnson. And that's not Randy Johnson there. Brewers minus 162 there. And then the headliner tonight, Boston at the Dodgers. Suarez, second game back versus Enriquez. Dodgers only minus 129. You can get the Red Hot Red Sox, I think, that are 22-3 their last 25 as they take 3 out of 4 from Oakland, plus 116. So I'm going to bring you to the forefront right now. Have some fun with it, and I'll be back.
All right, just a couple notes on a couple things. Jeff mentioned it's Paul Skeens Day. And I've been saying this, I don't know for how long, all season long. I don't remember exactly when I started saying it. But I was saying, hey, look, Paul Skeens isn't Paul Skeens. He's not the same guy that you've seen. He's not the same guy that you look. And I just wanted to, what's interesting is his swing strike percentage is 13.4%. So that's swing and miss, right? They swing, they don't hit the ball. It's last year was 13.8, and his rookie season is 13.1. So not a whole lot of difference in his swing and miss. His stuff still has movement or whatever. His called strike rate is down to 13.3. So that tells me he's not in the strike zone as much as he has been. He was 15.5 and then 16.3. So his command of his pitch is a little bit off. And then when I started looking at the measurement on the quality of his stuff, here's a big difference. As his rookie season, he was a 108. 108 will be elite. In 2025, he was 110. Pretty good. That's right up there. It's not where Mizorowski is, but he's up there. This year it's 98. 98 is not elite. 98 is average. He's an average pitching stuff guy. Average. His pitching plus number, so how he uses that, went from 115 to 121 to now 106. Well, it's still really good, 106, but it's not like it was at 121 or even at 115. So what he's doing with his pitches and his quality of his pitches isn't the same. So there's ways to track certain things, and you can look at stuff. So when you're really looking at these pitchers and trying to figure out how good they are, sometimes you got to dig under the hood pretty deep. And for Skeens, it's a problem. And I don't know, you wouldn't think that it's a problem mechanically, because mechanically he's doing the same stuff he's always done. So I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's with his grips with his fingers, if he's, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but there's something different about Paul Skeens. So I wanted to kind of bring that up. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up, because I'm going to talk about it, is the New York Yankees on offense. So currently, the New York Yankees best hitter is Ben Rice. He's 157 weighted runs created plus 57% better than an average hitter. That's pretty good. There's nothing wrong with that at all. With the next best hitter that they have is Cody Bellinger. He's 119, so he's 19% better than an average player. Bellinger's not in the lineup. He's not playing. The next guy is Jazz Chisholm on the list, 97 weighted runs created plus average. He's 3% worse. Aaron Judge, who's hurt. Paul Goldschmidt, 117. He doesn't play that often, but he plays a lot more than he's probably supposed to. 17% better than an average guy. Nobody else is on the list. Shouldn't say on the list. This is the season at 100. So they're all below average. And some of the guys, like Austin Wells, is 52. J.C. Esquera is 42. Ryan McMahon is 78. Caballero is 87. Volpe's 91. All right, so think about it. Think about it this way. You've got your lineup of the New York Yankees out there. Who are your star players for the New York Yankees? Well, Ben Rice. Who else? Well, Cody Bellinger. Well, he's not playing. So in today's lineup, who are the star players? There aren't any. It's Ben Rice. Nobody else. Nobody else is a star player unless you want to call Goldschmidt a star player these days. So the Yankees, in theory, then are putting out like a AAA lineup. So Ben Rice gets neutralized several games. He's not hitting right now, and then you sit there and you go, oh my God, I got to work. I got to have Dominguez or Caballero or Volpe or Austin Wells or somebody like that drive in the runs to win the game. That's what I'm saying. That's how bad the Yankees offense is. What you might not know is that the Yankees are still second in home runs in the whole league. The only team ahead of them is the Nationals. And where they're really effective on offense, they're the number one team on left on base. They've left on the least amount of guys. So their strategy, though, is we're going to go out there and just hit a home run because their batting average, the league average is now 244. Their batting average is 233. There's 3 teams in the league worse than them. 3. So if you want proof of how bad they are, look at their record in extra inning games. In extra innings, I think they're like 1-9 now because they lost twice now to the White Sox, 1-9. So why is that the proof that they're a bad offense? Well, offense in extra innings requires teamwork. You got a guy at second base. The key hitter in the whole thing is the first batter. The first batter can make an out. He doesn't have to get a hit. But he absolutely 100% has to get the guy from second to third. That's his job. Because then if he's at third base with 1 out, you can hit a fly ball. You don't need a hit. You hit a ground ball to second base, move him over to third, hit a fly ball to right field, and score the run, and you didn't get a hit. So that's how teamwork works. The Yankees can't do that. Their number one guy, I think Schumann was up the other day, and Schumann came up and he struck out. Well, you didn't move the runner. So now you absolutely are going to need a hit. The Yankees don't hit. They hit home runs. And at the end of these games, and I get it, you're not facing the number one closer at this moment, but you're facing a quality pitcher in most cases. That pitcher doesn't allow the home run as much. So you're going to have to get a hit, and they just can't do it. So they're a team that doesn't get those hits. So if you're in a series like they're going to stay today against the Cubs, you sit there and go, oh, my gosh, what's going to happen? Well, it's what always happens when the Yankees are playing these days. The Yankees don't get hits. They tend to go up there and try to hit home runs. When they hit home runs, they're competitive. They play pretty well. And or when their pitchers do really well enough that hold the other team to 1 or 2 runs. I mean, think about what the Yankees did and lost both games. Weathers didn't allow any, and Schlittler allowed one, and they lost both games. So it takes a lot to win when you can't score, and that's where the Yankees are at. So keeping that in mind and going into game number one of what I bet today, there's a theme behind what I bet today, and in the article I wrote about it, I'm betting RE24 score against bad RE24 score, and as this works out, there's 5 or 6 of those spots today, but there's not 5 or 6 spots where the RE24 score works, and there's a huge offensive edge. So I'm betting those 3 spots. That's what I'm betting. This is the first spot. And I did read somewhere where somebody said, well, no, the Yankees are going to do good today because of barrel rate and all this other bullshit. So I'll explain some of this other stuff in a second. But let's get to here. So Imanaga is pitching against Warren. Warren, I think, hasn't won a game for the Yankees in, 6, 7, 8 starts. It's been bad. His game score in the last 7 times out is 35. You're not going to win many games at game score 35. That's just not going to happen. His game score for the season's a 47, and Imanaga's kind of that way too. Now, I'm not saying he's a 35, but he does have his rough outings, and he's not currently going through those, but he has had them, and he's a game score 57. Well, it's 56.9, but I was around to say it's 57 for his last 7 starts. He's a 64 for his last 3. He's a 54 for the season. So he's not like a 60 ace. Now, he's been 60 over his last 3 starts, so he's been pretty good. But the reality becomes is there's a couple of things here. We've been talking about the run value score. The run value score for Warren's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It's 4.02, and the run value score for Imanaga is 3.86. So it's a little bit worse than I thought it was going to be. So it's not very big. The difference is not very big. You want that to be at least 0.6 or better, and here I am betting on it at minus 0.16. They're only marginally better. There's a couple differences here. Warren's not very good right now because his home run rate's 3.12. So he's giving up 3 home runs in a 9-inning game. That's what it means. That's not going to win you very many games. And second, his swing and miss is only 7.9. That's in the bottom of baseball. So the Cubs don't play baseball like the Yankees do. They put balls in play. They have high batting averages for the most part in today's game. And they also slug. So this is a powerful offense, and they're going to not strike out. That's not very good for them. Now, Warren's pitched. It says, speaking of pummel pitchers, the Rocket Sauce shares a birthday with an active player now. It's also a Hall of Fame pitcher and has a color in his name. What, Vita Blue? You're Vita Blue? I don't know. I don't. I'm just making that up, but that's a color in his name. Jeff says, yep. LOL, he starts laughing. You have a couple of notes here too. Warren's batting average against is 306. His whip rate is 1.62. His hard hit rate's over 40%, 42%. He is a pummel pitcher today. Rocket Sauce says, damn, Webby, right off the bat. Look, I'm old. Look, Jeff's young. He's thinking of Hunter Green. So Warren's not in a good spot here. So there's a balls in play edge to the Cubs. And then when you start thinking about the Cubs pitcher, that was the pummel pitcher is Walker Buehler. Well, there you go. Walker Buehler is getting to that point where, every time out he's a pummel pitcher. Kind of jumps in with German Marquez. Well, theoretically, any of them damn Padre pitchers are that way. So now we look at balls in play edges. You got all this other stuff going on for the Cubs. The only drawback to this whole game that I thought of was Imanaga's off of 2 really good starts. Game score 60s in each of them. But when I look at it and then I start to think about what I just talked about prior to this is what the Yankees lineup looks like. I was like, that's pretty good. RE24 score is 8.47 positive for Imaniga. -7.24 for Warren. That's a margin of 15 points. That's a lot. And it's huge to compile that big margin that way. And then look at the offensive gap. The offensive gap is the Cubs right now, number 1 in offense. And they are number 9 in isolated power, 138 weighted runs created plus, 12.5 runs better than an average offense, 12.5. The Yankees, 26th, 21st in isolated power, 69 weighted runs created plus, 31% worse than an average offense. They are -7 runs to an average offense. That's a gap of 19. So you got a gap of 19 on offense, a gap of 9 or whatever, 15 or whatever on the RE24 score. It's a home game for the Cubs, and that matters because the Cubs at home, 141 weighted runs created plus in the last month. So that's how I do that in a month time. The Yankees, 10% worse than average, 90 on the road. And the worst part about this for the Yankees, I didn't say that. We're almost to the worst part. They are 70 weighted runs created plus against lefties. So that's 30% less than an average team. And right now, they are net 6 negative batters at 1 or more WAR, negative WAR, 7 in total. They have one guy, and that one guy is Spencer Jones. Spencer Jones is 1.0 WAR. Nobody else is on the list. Are you kidding me? And you're going to go against the Cubs with PCA and Bregman and Horner and this guy Ramirez has been on this list now for a week straight. He's been pretty good. And then Suzuki and look, it's a mismatch. Now I say that, and then I read an article from this guy that says, "Hey, you got to bet on the Cubs today or the Yankees today because Imaniga, he throws the ball in a sweet spot for the Yankees. The Yankees' strength is hitting barrel rates. That's what it is, barrel rates. And he's like, well, because he gets barrel hit, the Yankees are going to score a lot of runs today. Okay, if that's what you think. So a couple of things here. Barrel rate. Have you ever heard me talk about barrel rate much? Hardly ever. I talk about hard hit rate. Barrel rate's not the same thing. It's close to the same thing, but it's not the same thing. Barrel rate is where the ball hits the bat, whether it's on the barrel, the sweet spot, so that it's supposed to, come off the bat harder. That's what it is. That's what they measure where it hits on the bat. So let me ask you a question. If a guy has a high barrel rate, what should his average be? What should his slugging percentage be? How many home runs should he hit? How many extra bases should he hit? You have no idea. And you know why you have no idea? Because it's not a stat. It's made up. Anything that is StatCast oriented, except for stuff around stolen bases, because you can measure speed, and then speed can be translated into stolen bases pretty easily. Nothing else is. StatCast is about human measurements, like how fast the guy is, whether he has a launch angle at a certain spot, the exit velocity off of a base, the ball off of a bat. None of that produces a real result. It produces a hypothetical result based on calculations of what should happen, not what did happen. So be very careful about StatCast data. StatCast data can put you in a world of hurt because it's all made up stuff. It's not real. It's sabermetrics, the stuff I get into, the stuff I talk about, I can break them down. I can tell you exactly where they come from, how they're generated, why it's important, and what to do with the information. StatCast is not that same way because it's made up stuff. And when I say made up, it's some algorithm, some formula that says if you hit the ball this hard, you should have it. It's like It's like XERA or X average, right? You'll hear people talk about this stuff all the time. That they don't talk about Sierra, or they don't talk about XFIP, or they don't know what fielding independent pitching is. But they'll talk about XERA like it's the most amazing thing in the world. Do you know what XERA is even generated from? What it has in it? It has stuff like barrel rate, launch angles. It has that kind of stuff in it. It's all made up. None of it has to do with hits allowed, or none of it has to do with hard hit rates. None of it has to do with any of that stuff. It all has to do with the maneuvering management of the body of the human. And so it's kind of cool, right? You'll see on TV where StatCast said this guy ran, 26 miles an hour. Oh, that's great. What does that mean? Does that mean he gets more singles? Does that mean he get a double? Well, you could sort of translate that into stolen bases. You could. So I could see that, but I can't see anything else that StatCast is useful for. I even think they mismeasure the length of the home runs. Anyway, that's just me. Timmy says StatCast is useless. My opinion, I don't use it at all. So anyway, just be careful what you listen to. Obviously, listen to what you like. But I'm not a StatCast guy. I'm not. There's a lot of that I'm not into. So, and because of that, there's a website called Baseball Savant. I don't spend much time on it. I do see certain things on there I like, but I don't get involved in much stats from there at all. So, anyway, just food for thought. So, I spent a lot of time. I've only gone over one game. So my first bet is how about we do this? I'll do my 3 bets, and then when we run out of time, we run out of time. So I did Imaniga today, and again, just revisiting that for a second. You got a pitching edge, you got an RE24 edge, you got an offensive edge, you got a lot going on there. It's good. Now the way I bet it is a little different. Where's my notes? Here they are. I could have bet Imaniga minus 146, and I thought that was stupid. The reason I thought it was stupid is I think it's a little high, to be honest. So I did like minus 1. Minus 1 was only minus 104, so it's a flip of a coin if they're going to win by 1. Well, what the hell? If they lose, then they lose, right? I don't want to be minus 146 and lose. So I was like, well, I'll just do the minus 104 then. So that's what I did. I did minus 1 at minus 104. I thought it was a smarter bet in this case than playing the minus 146. Because if they got to win, they got to win anyway. Now I get it; they got to win by 2. But if they win by 1, then I get my money back. But the other side of that is my computer likes it. I liked it. My computer says 6-4 winner for the Cubs. So that was number 1. So my next bet that I made, we got to move down. And Jeff mentioned it earlier. Washington is playing in Atlanta, and here we have the same concept, same thing altogether. You have a small run value score edge to Griffin. It's actually 2 Griffin. It's 0.11. He's got a 4.12 run value score, and Elder has a 4.23. So very, very different. A lot more different than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot bigger. That said, as I came down and kind of looked at him, you've got a RE24 score 709 for Griffin. Really, really good number. And you've got a negative for Elder. So that's not good. So there's your gap. And this time the gap's not, as big as it was with Warren and Imaniga, but it's still 7-8 number. The number is 7 and then 40. So it's like 7.5. So that gap's kind of big. So then I started breaking it down a little farther. And what makes Griffin good? Griffin's not a big strikeout guy. He's only 15% strikeouts, the bottom part of baseball. But he doesn't walk anybody at 3%. He doesn't give up home runs. So balls are going to be put in play a little bit, but he's got such where is it? He's got such a low hard hit rate that they're easier outs. It's 36% his hard hit rate, and the difference being Elder is 48% hard hit rate. They can't stop the balls from coming, and hard hits. A ground ball that Griffin's going to give up between, say, short and third. It's going to be a slower roller ball that the shortstop or third baseman might get to and be able to throw the guy out. The same spot where the Nationals are batting, it might be a ball that's hit at 108 miles an hour and the guy can't get to it. So it goes in for a base hit. That's one reason why hard hit rate's important. The other reason that hard hit rate is important, how many home runs have you seen with a hard hit rate of 60 miles an hour? You don't see that. And there's a reason you don't see it, because balls that are hit at 60 miles an hour don't go for home runs. You gotta hit it harder than that to get it to go for home runs. So hard hit rates are also damaging blows most of the time, which also is a fly ball thing. If you're hitting fly balls, you have home run possibilities, but you also have, think about this. We just talked about the ground ball between short and third. What if it's a line drive that's hard hit, and it's a gapper between the left fielder and the center fielder? Oh, that's going to be hard hit, and that's a double or a triple. There's no ground balls that do that. Ground balls don't go that far. You can hit a ground ball down the line and it can be a double, but you can't hit a ground ball into the gap because they're going to cut it off. So you can hit a hard hit rate, a fly ball that goes there. And the other thing you can't do with a ground ball, you can't hit a ground ball for a home run. That's impossible. Can't happen. But you can certainly hit fly balls for home runs. So you want ground ball pitchers that have low hard hit rates. And when you look at Griffin's ground ball rate, 50%. It's elite. That's one of the best in baseball. And it's 37% for Elder. And I'm looking, here's a 35% that's red. So he's a borderline being one of the worst in baseball at giving up fly balls. So it's a good spot if you're betting against him. It's a bad spot if you want to bet on him. And his RE24 score is not helpful either. It's more flat than the other guy, but it's still negative. So and the other part that you might be surprised with Elder, he strikes out more guys than you think. He's a 23% strikeout rate, which is 25 starts to get you into the good category. So he's really close there. But his walk rate is 11. It's 10.9. And his home runs are 3.60. It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to win when you're giving up 3 home runs and 3.5 in a game. And you're playing a team that hits home runs. So when you look at the batters part of this, the Nationals are number 2 in offense, number 1 in isolated power. So isolated power is the extra bases. It's the doubles, triples, and home runs. And that's exactly what gets Elder in trouble. So when the guy said, hey, look, the barrel of the bat is what matches up and makes the Yankees strong, this is what I think makes a team strong. This team has demonstrated their isolated power is a team that's going to do damage in that regard with a pitcher that allows that. So that's a good matchup for that offense. And then when you start to go look at, okay, well, where's the Braves? They're 29th out of 30 teams in offense. The Braves are scoring 2.7 runs a game. You think that's going to beat the Nationals, the number 1 scoring team in baseball? I don't think so. So then I started looking at it. The run value is 11.9 for the Nationals, almost 12 on average, better than another team. And then the Braves are minus 10. And I've said this before, the Braves haven't been playing that great at home, but the Braves are playing a left-handed pitcher today too, just like the Yankees. And they're not quite as bad as the Yankees, but they're 80 weighted runs created plus, so 20% worse than an average team. And then when I looked at it even farther, the Yankees had 7 guys that were 1 offensive WAR or worse. The Braves have 5. That's no good. 5 guys out of your 9 guys in the lineup are that's not good. Baldwin's the only one, and then the new addition that they got. I say new addition, they got him about a month ago now, but Joey Bart. Joey Bart's on this list as being one of the best hitters that the Braves have. And we talk about the Nationals all the time, and we go, there's 2 guys you really want on that list, C.J. Abrams and Wood. Well, C.J. Abrams is number 1 on the list. Luis Garcia is number 2, and he's really a good player. And number 3, James Wood. Bang, bang, bang. Just knocking him off the list. And then Cruz, who is batting, I think, 4th in this lineup right now. He's on the list. And then Young, who bats 5th, is on the list. And Lyle, who bats 6th, is on the list. Give me the Nationals, right? I'm going to take the Nationals in that spot. They are plus 105 today. So I bet the Nationals. And again, it's a combination of you got a pitching edge and an RE24 score edge. Then you have an offensive edge on top of that. The next one is the game I wanted to bet. I did bet, and then the pitching change happened, and I lost. So I'm betting Brewers today. I'm betting on Drohan today against Randy Johnson. The real name is Ryan Johnson. So that's going to be the next bet, and I'll explain how I bet in a minute. But if I go back to those 2 pitchers, game score wise for Drohan, you can't be hardly any more consistent. Let me share with what I mean. Click on, where is he? There he is up there. There we go. So if I slide this out just a little bit, his game score was a 51 the last time, so average. 64, so a little bit above it. Well, not what aces do average, 64s. Then he did a 59, so right about it, ace average. And then he did 53, 55, 55, 52. Every single start above 50, with 1 being in the 60s and 1 at 59. Very, very consistent. He's been that way all season. He's missed, I think, once or twice in there for the season. But he's a game score of 55 over his last 7. That's pretty good. And he's going to face Johnson, who's a game score of 42 over his last 7. He's a game score of 39 for the season. So that's not very good. Now, one of the things that I learned, I shouldn't say learned, one of the things that you want to watch is how do teams score runs. And the Brewers do a lot of stringing of hits together. They're not a big home run hitting team. In fact, if I go over there, the Brewers have hit 2 home runs in the last 6 games. That's not very many. Whereas some teams have hit double-digit home runs in that same amount of time. They've only hit 2. But what they do is they score runs. They've scored 6 runs by stringing a bunch of hits together. And the Angels, they've only scored 3 runs a game. Remember, that's red. You can't bet on them. So now we got an issue there. So as I look at this game, here's one I thought was going to happen on all of them. I thought we were going to have a run value score edge like this, where Drohan, he's a 3.63 run value score, and Johnson's a 472. So there's a difference of over 1. Well, that's pretty good. I'll take the pitcher that's got the better run value score. I'll take that. And then Johnson is a 10% walk guy and a 2.6 home run allowed guy. He puts guys on base and allows them to hit home runs. And as you would think, Drohan's not the biggest strikeout guy, but pretty close to elite. He's 24.2. And remember, we talked about Elder at 23.9. So he's even closer to that red or green number. But he doesn't walk anybody, 4.8 walks. And he certainly doesn't allow home runs, 0.60 for home runs. So that's awesome. He does get a big swing and miss at 13%. So balls in play, that edge is going to be the ball or to Milwaukee, even if it's a little smaller than in some cases. And the whip rate, 1.13. If you don't walk them and they have a hard time getting a batting average on you, it's hard to get on base. Well, that's the issue. It's hard to get on base against Drohan. And for Johnson, it's a 1.56. The batting average against is 275. And he has a negative RE score of a 24 score of almost 7, 6.87, pretty consistent with the other two guys that are over 7 by a little bit. So I liked those things about that game. And then when I looked at the offense, and it's not that Milwaukee's like the best offense in the world, but they are third right now, third. And they're placing the Angels, who are 16th. Now, the Milwaukee Brewers are 134 weighted runs created plus, 34% better than an average offense. And one of the things that they're not doing is they don't strike out 15% of the time. I think it's the lowest number on the board today. Yeah, they're the lowest strikeout team on the board. They are 8.5 runs better than an average team, and the Angels are 3 runs worse. So that's an 11-run gap plus the 1 run from the starting pitcher. That's pretty good. That's hard to beat, actually. And then as you kind of break them down, you go, well, how are we doing here? Well, one of the things we talked about a minute ago is hard hit rate. You can measure offenses in hard hit rate too. So offenses that have higher hard hit rates are sustainable. They're gonna continue that a little bit. And in LA's case, the Angels, they are 1, 2, 3. They're the 4th worst hard hit rates, 28%. That's not good. You need to be at least 30% to be considered halfway decent. 33 is kind of more of an average number, and anything closer to 37, 38, 39, you're actually hitting the ball pretty damn hard every time, especially over the 40s if you get there, especially as a team. That's pretty good. But the Angels are 28.9% there, so they're making a lot of easy outs is what it really tells you. And then they're going to face a pitcher that's pretty consistent, so that's not good for them. So I like the idea too that most of the time the Angels don't play well at home. So they're 70 weighted runs created plus on offense at home. So I kind of like the idea that, hey, Milwaukee's bats travel. They do pretty well. They play decent defense. They play consistent baseball. They play a good brand of baseball. They're the second best team win-loss record-wise in the league against one of the worst teams in baseball. So this line was 156, and I'm like, shit, I don't really want to pay 156. So I paid the -1. -1 was, I think it was 115 or whatever it is, 115. I can't read my writing. 115. It might have been 125. I can't tell my 2 or 1. Anyway, the point is I try to get it to be a lower number. And if I win by 1, I get my money back, and I'm okay with that. And those are the 3 bets I made. Some of the other games, the Pirates matchup with Green, I think is kind of interesting, only in the sense that neither offense is hitting very well, and both pitchers are halfway decent. Jeff likes the game, with Boston tonight. Look, that's a good matchup, but it would have been way better if Yamamoto pitched tonight, but he's not. That's a bullpen game. So Yamamoto is going to pitch tomorrow. So we'll see what it kind of looks like. My only concern in this series for the Red Sox is that the Red Sox need to turn the bats back on again. The bats kind of went away a little bit here, and that's against a pretty weak pitching staff in the A's. They're not going to face a weak pitching staff in the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers bullpen hasn't been as good as it's normally been, and the bullpen for the Red Sox has been lights out. So if they can stay within shouting distance, they can win all these games. That said, they gotta hit. You're not going to beat the Dodgers at home if you don't hit. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes for them, and we'll see what Rangers looks like tonight. Rangers pitched against the Dodgers before. Shit, he's old. So it's one of these spots, I think, where you look at it and you go, yeah, I like Ranger tonight. I do. I like Ranger against the bullpen. But I don't. You still got to like the Red Sox to hit, and that's where I always run into problems. I shouldn't say always. I bet on the Red Sox, but I mean, I would struggle with betting the Red Sox in that regard, especially against, I'm going to see this guy once, and then I'm going to see that guy once, and I'm going to see this guy once. I'm not sure how that's all going to work out. But the Dodgers got to hope that they get it to go that way too. They might get in there and they have one guy mess up, and then they got to give up 3 or 4 runs, and Rangers out there doing Ranger things, and the Dodgers have scored 0 or 1, and that makes it hard. So and then you put in a good bullpen from the Red Sox, and they win the game. I can see that strategy, and I see how all that works too. So interesting matchup. There's no question. My computer likes the Red Sox.
Staying there. Nice to see Diaz back right before right before the trade deadline. Get the cobwebs out there. Scotty, I'm going to ask you. Listen, I've assessed a lot of deals from the Dodgers in regards to the best farm system in the league. And listen, prospects are just prospects. That's all they are. And everyone overestimates their guys. Their guys are the best. I mean, the new big 3 for the Red Sox: Kristen Campbell, who can't get out of Worcester now; Cassis, who can't get healthy; Anthony finally swinging a bat. Holy shit, he had 30 swings yesterday and the day before. But my point is, I'm part of that Mookie deal. We got Verdugo, Jeter Downs, and blah, 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 blah. And my point is, Detroit makes this deal with the Dodgers. They're going to get prospects. Do you think they might get a ready-made arm? I'm just throwing a name out there, like a Glasnow or something like that.
No. So here's what I think. My thought is that I know that he's the best pitcher in baseball, and if you want him, you got to pay an arm and a leg to get him. That's not true. You don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get a rental player. Now, I will say that in hindsight to that, the Dodgers would be the only case where he's not really a rental player, because two things. One, Tariq Skubal wants to go play for the Dodgers. And 2, because of that, the Dodgers would be like, well, we'll just give you the money. There you go. And he's a Dodger. But having said that, that still doesn't mean that they got to mortgage everything that they have. I don't think they care about prospects to give away. Like you said, they're prospects. They maybe turn into something, maybe not. I look back at some of these deals that are coming through that are old on Twitter, and I'm like, I didn't remember PCA being traded in this kind of thing. And then he got traded for some Yahoo or something, and now PCA is one, he's an MVP kind of player. And I'm like, well, see, prospects become something, don't they? Well, far and few between they do, but they do. So, my opinion on this is that I don't think the Dodgers care about how many prospects they give the guy. So the Dodgers have, just so everybody knows, the Dodgers have like the 3 best outfielders in minor league baseball, 3 of them. They all can't play for the Dodgers anyway, so they got to get rid of some of these guys. So theoretically, they're going to get rid of a couple of those guys. They got a really good catcher down there. They got a guy named what's his name? It's something River. He's a pitcher. He's as good as almost anybody that's in the Major League Baseball already. He's ready to go. They just don't. Where are they going to put him? So you could take Eric Lauer's spot. I could probably do that. But the point being here is that they got guys, and they got lots of them. So I think that the Tigers would do themselves a good favor by putting themselves in position to take those guys. I don't think the Tigers want Glass now. How many innings does he pitch? You always say he's got a glass arm or a glass chin or a glass whatever. He's fragile as hell. And Blake Snell's now the same way. But you know what? Maybe that's the Dodgers formula. Maybe the Dodgers go, well, let Emmett Sheehan come out here and pitch some, and let Robleski come out here and do some stuff. But when it comes down to it, you guys be ready, and we'll just have you come in and pitch, a month so that you get your sea legs back, and then all of a sudden, you're ready for the playoffs. And then they come out and they throw 100 miles an hour, both of them, and they're just sharp as shit, and they get everybody out, and then they go, oh, we won a World Series. And they don't need these guys to pitch because, they got these other guys that can, Eric Lauers and Emmett Sheehans and Robleskis, right? That can come out and do this stuff.
Innings.
Huh?
They eat up innings.
Well, there's no question, but they win games. Well, that helps because you got Otani and Freeman and Betts, and Betts has had a rough couple of years here lately, but he wasn't the first time. The first year he was out there. Those are like Hall of Fame players batting back to back to back. So it's interesting to see what will end up happening with the Dodgers and how it all goes. And now they got a great closer who's back. But who else I saw back was Javier Baez is now back playing for the Tigers. He brought him a little energy that day. I thought that was pretty good when I saw him play. So that was good. I think there's one crucial big series this weekend. I think the Houston Texas Rangers series is big, and I think it's big because Houston's on the run. I mean, Houston's like a game and a half back. I think they're in front of Seattle now. So they're the ones closing the door. And if they go make a deal, why couldn't they? They could go make a deal, and I would have to sit there and scratch my head because they have had no pitchers. They all got hurt, and then they just got guys off the street and said, "Hey, go throw the ball. Can you throw it for a strike?" And that's what they did. And here they are at a point where maybe they win the division and make the playoffs. I don't know, but I think it's a big weekend for that series. Wasn't sure how to make out this number, and my computer likes Evaldi today. My computer doesn't like Brown yet. Brown's the better pitcher, but he's not necessarily better because he was hurt and he doesn't necessarily have his sea legs back. He's off of one good start. He hasn't made more than one good start yet. And that was his first good start. Most of the time he gets rocked. I've been betting against him. So I'm waiting to see what this game turns out like, and kind of go from there. And look, the Astros are a team that's really weird because you have the top three guys. You have Pena, I think, leads off, and then you have Yordan Alvarez, and then Isaac Paredes. And those three guys carry the whole offense. Christian Walker sometimes bats fourth, and he kind of gets in there. But everybody else makes outs. Altuve and Cam Smith and Yainer Diaz, the catcher. All these guys make outs, man. And those three guys carry the whole offense. And so far, they're doing halfway decent. So I think that's a big series, though. I don't remember. I don't need to look. I don't remember how many times they play each other going forward, and where they're at. But my thought is that if the Rangers keep on their run a little bit, now they didn't do so good against the Rays, but if they move into here and do well, that's going to increase that gap. I think Seattle plays the Twins. So Seattle has a chance to stay kind of there when they just played the Dodgers and got wiped out. So we'll see kind of where that division shakes out after this weekend.
Going to be interesting. Big weekend. Me and Scotty will figure out next week's schedule. We'll talk to you. We'll put it up on the timeline. Want to give a shout out, of course, to Rocket Sauce, to Timothy. Shout out to PB, Kenny Magner, of course. All our cast of characters, Mr. Lucky, Dr. Lance. Going to be a big weekend for a lot of teams, a lot of people walking on eggshells as Monday, the trade deadline, comes as well. Scotty, deadline 4 or 6 p.m.? 4 o'clock on Monday. Are you available Monday afternoon?
Yeah.
Okay. So trade deadline.
I'm available basically all day Monday.
Are you, in other words, deadline at 4? Do you want to do the 5:15 or do you want to move into the Monday at 3 o'clock slot?
Well, I think we'll probably have a lot to talk about. So it might be a longer show. So I'm fairly certain, and this is just, I'm an old guy with a bad memory. So that's why I need Jeff. Jeff helps me with these names that I always forget. But I'm pretty sure there's only like 8 games that day. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm not betting, but I might not have as much of that to go over as one of the things we can talk about is how a team improved from one week to the next, and one weekend to the next, and looking at some different objectives. We can go and say, well, we think this team won this trade because blah, 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 or this team got better because of blah, 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 all the stuff that happens. We think it might work that way. We can do a lot of that, and if there's a whole bunch of stuff, we'll have it'll be a long show and talk about
And that's the funny thing. If you do a show, the funny stuff is you do a show starting at 3 and there's nothing, but there's a lot of stuff coming. Then if you do it at 3:30, you get the 3:30 to 4, and then of course at 4:01 there's a couple trades that haven't been announced. So I'm going to make it easier on everyone. I'm going to let all the dust settle, Scotty. I'm going to pencil us in for 5:15. How's that?
That's fine. I'm verifying what I said at 4:00. I am double checking as I'm speaking to you right now. It is 6 p.m. I apologize.
I knew it had to be something there.
It says it was set later than the traditional July 1st number, and whatever. It's
all right. So here's what I'm going to do. Everyone watching and listening, I'm not going to solidify a date because if we have a lot of big moves over the weekend, and we can run the show at our 3:00 time, we can run our show at 5:15. Which actually makes sense because we can go over what has already transpired and the fact that we would be doing a live show. Actually, that's the plan. 5:15, Scotty, because we can talk what already happened and we'll be live if there's any late breakers. How's that?
Well, there will be late breakers because that's how it always is. And the issue will be is, are they going to matter? Well, usually, and I saw what's his name, the guy on MLB that's a former GM, not the guy that was with the Reds, the guy we all like.
Bowden.
Yeah, Bowden, the guy we like. Anyway, he's like, if you're the Tigers and you're got SKUBAL, make them all wait, make them all panic, make them all think about all kinds of stuff, and wait till the very end. Just wait till the very end because you might sweeten the deal. You might do something else. You might get more. So just don't do anything until it comes down to you have to do something, and then you just take the best one and move on. And then your life is good. Everybody else's life is miserable.
And I did read before we came on. You said no to one of your star players involved in that deal, and the same with the Brewers. So they're kind of knocking you both out of the mix. And Tigers, probably being the Tigers, will win all 3 games this weekend. And then to get, you know what, Tariq, the hell with it. We're going to make that pie. Who the hell knows, Scotty?
Yeah, the thought process is they had to, they just played the Royals, who aren't very good, and they had to beat the Royals, and they didn't. So the thought was, hey, this team could beat the Royals and basically sweep them, and then they could seriously go sweep the A's because my numbers have the A's worse than the Angels. Okay, so I don't have the A's very high, and they could go sweep them too, and then all of a sudden they've won, not like what the Red Sox did, but they've won like 8 or 9 games in a row. Why would they want to sell then? And then they'd be getting closer and closer and closer because, the White Sox are playing the Yankees. And then after this series, I forget who the White Sox are playing now, but they play the Red Sox. So it's not going to be easy. And the Tigers could move up. That said, they didn't do very good against the Royals. So now it's panic mode. Hey, we got to sell everybody and their brother because, we need to get something for this team that's so bad.
5:15 on Monday. Catch us live. If something changes, we'll be on the timeline. I want everyone to have an amazing weekend. Be safe. go to Scotty at Webby20MLB, follow him, and then click the link if you haven't already for the Substack. Just add your email and set it and forget it. Tomorrow, August 1st, we flip the calendar. We will be starting to integrate some football slowly here through the month of August. And again, we will be your baseball station throughout August, September, and of course, October with the boys of summer. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, one and only, Mr. Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB. Wish everyone a blessed day. Thank you guys for everything. Behave yourselves and stay tuned.